Hello, YouTube.
Hello,
All right,
YouTube.
We
Jack's
all waved.
I love Jack's YouTube wave. Hi.
Hey, YouTube. What's up, chat?
So
Yo, what up,
enjoy,
chat?
like, subscribe. We're talking Washington, Oregon, and all manner of college football. Week 7 coming at you. Like, subscribe, comment. What's going to be the biggest game, or who's going to win Washington, Oregon? Comment something.
Yep. Comment something.
Biggest upset. Don't
say
say
something nice about us four.
Oh, gosh.
Sure. Enjoy. Hello and welcome to Unnecessary Roughness, Barstool's college football podcast. We're getting ready for a week. I have no idea. I've lost the weeks. 6, 7, 8,
Seven.
Who knows? 7. Week 7. Sure, whatever. I don't care. But we're brought to you by Casey. Take over.
High Noon Hard Seltzer. There is a game day pack in the middle of me and Jack right now. It's the black cherry, pear, cranberry, and grapefruit. And as we have been saying, that weather is turning in a lot of places across the country, but High Noon still hits the same way. I've been drinking the cranberry a lot. The vodka cranberry is great. They also have the tequilas, to go to Drizzly, your liquor stores, your convenience stores, all over. I saw there's a gigantic new shipment in the kitchen right now at the Barstool, New York office.
All blocked off.
But it's all blocked off and it says do not drink a million times, which feels like it's just, tempting people in this office because usually when there's High Noon, it doesn't last long. But hey, people have been following the rules. That's hard to do with High Noon.
I think it helps that Dave, Dave wants High Noon. So if you are the reason that he can't drink any, you just don't want to be that person.
Yeah, he's also just here. So anytime he's here, people do follow the rules. But as long as there's High Noon stocked, we love it. Jack, you and Katie both basically live here. You're drinking the High Noons on the weekends, right?
Yeah, we love High Noon. Game day pack. Drink them this weekend, whether you're at home or tailgating. Should be a phenomenal weekend. Add some High Noon to it.
Add some High Noon. Okay, so Brandon, it is week 7 of college football, and you now, I believe this is the 3rd week in a row, I'm hoping at least, have you named this slate? Because you had Sneaky Saturday, and then you had Prove It Saturday. What is week 7 Saturday?
So far, it's Nameless Saturday. I don't really have anything for it.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
It could be, it was going to be Pac-12 Saturday, where they were going to be in the spotlight. USC kind of not being as good and Notre Dame losing took a little bit of shine off that second game. But I don't really know. It's not a standout slate by any means. There's a lot of top teams that are playing bad teams like Georgia, Vanderbilt, Michigan, everybody on their schedule. A lot of good teams playing bad teams this weekend. But then there is, in the Pac-12, you have obviously the biggest game of the weekend, Washington and Oregon, which I think the winner of that takes a big step towards being a playoff contender, being a playoff team. Their quarterback probably takes a step towards being the Heisman. It's a huge, gigantic game. And, I'm excited about that one first and foremost, Casey.
Understandably, as am I. And you mentioned the top 4 teams. It's all at 12 too. So right. Georgia plays Vanderbilt, Michigan plays Indiana, Ohio State plays Purdue, and Florida State plays Syracuse, all at that noon slate. And it's just I cannot wait for those teams to all be playing really big games. So we're going to start to see some change because unless something crazy happens, the top 4 is going to stay the same. No matter, they're all going to win on Saturday. So it's not anything's going to change.
We're jumping ahead of ourselves here. We're talking about the slate when what we should be talking about is I am the biggest star in college football.
Oh, no.
Because when Oklahoma gets its biggest win in half a decade, when Oklahoma's players go out there and say, oh, my God, Texas, they're scared of us. When they do that, everything they do, it all boiled down. It all followed Brandon Walker. All right. They put out a 7.5-minute video, and they used Brandon Walker to tip it off ahead of the game day guy. So I think I have officially been crowned the biggest star in college football. Do we all agree?
I don't know if I will agree with that. Obviously, it's great bulletin board material. What I will agree with is that somebody in the OU football department watches and loves this podcast because obviously you led off that and it was your face, which was phenomenal. Their preseason hype video led off with me and Gabe Eichert talking about the expectations for this year for them. So somebody in the Oklahoma Sooners video department loves Unnecessary Roughness, and to that we say thank you.
Huge thank you. And my DMs are open if you want high-res images or videos of anything.
Brandon, I will say, it was very, very funny that they're using a Zoom video of you. The footage in that whole montage, and it was a very sick video. everything was so high def, so crisp, so clear. Venables he has great quotes, and then at the beginning it's just you low res on Zoom. Very funny.
So, one thing about Oklahoma, first of all, to the victor go the spoils. If you win the game, you get to celebrate winning the game. Is it a little much? Are they over celebrating a regular season victory?
I was thinking this too. I'm not saying that they shouldn't, but if you lead off your preseason hype video by saying at Oklahoma the standard is win the Big 12 and make the college football playoff, you haven't done that yet. And now, all that being said, huge win. They're definitely back in the position that their standard is. But yeah, you could definitely make that argument. And I know they'll clip this and they'll go and they'll say all the little things that they say, their little vile quotes that they have. But this is nothing. I was a little surprised. I will say, though, every team does put out videos like that. They're cinematic recaps, and it was a great video.
7.5 minutes?
That's wild.
Yeah, no. Most of them are 7.5 minutes. That Oregon video that everyone was losing their minds over was 7.5 minutes or 6 minutes. Yeah, most of the cinematic recaps are it's an away game, which this was a neutral site game, they'll film them going on the plane, in the locker room, during the game, halftime, post game. So they're usually that long, but not a lot of them lead off with a way that they did. But I mean, I guess they were just celebrating over Texas.
I'm going to say, I don't care who it is. I think you're allowed to do this, and I would be doing the same thing. I think all of us would do this. If you spend an entire off season and then, a good part of the beginning of the season hearing about how, and not just to throw your quote under the bus, but just anybody, like hearing how they're the fakest team in America, hearing how they're going to lose, how Texas is so much better, how Texas is in a better spot to go into the SEC, and it's your main rival and a team that beat the shit out of you the year before, I feel like you have to make a video when you win. Like, why wouldn't you?
I don't care about making a video, but here's the thing. That cute-ass quote they're all going crazy for right now, Oklahoma ain't scared of nothing. Oklahoma's only scared of God, and Texas is scared of Oklahoma. You're going to have to play them again. You're going to have to play them again.
Also, Oklahoma's scared of the college football playoff. Let's not forget that.
Yeah, no, that quote is awesome for right now. That could easily come back
crazy.
To bite them.
Like, this is the best quote that's ever been said by a human being, and like in 6 weeks, that might come back to bite them on the ass.
Definitely. That I'm talking about the video as a whole. But coaches say things in the locker room, and this is part of the problem, which obviously we love at Barstool because we get to put it out and everybody gets to see it. But coaches say things in the locker room that's meant to hype up their team and meant to say, this is for the players. This is to get the players in the right mindset for this like heated rivalry, blah, blah, blah. And then you put it out on the internet and everybody can pick it apart. In the moment, he should say stuff like that. However, then you put it out for the whole world to see, and if you then lose to Texas, Texas fans can take it and run with it. So it's a double-edged sword, but of course he's going to say stuff like that in the locker room. I mean, RIP, but like, look at the stuff Mike Leach said in the locker room forever that was taken out of context because the public got a hold of it when he was just meaning it for the players. I love that stuff.
Yeah. It is what it is.
It is what it is. But Brandon, congratulations. We like to give people a lot of shit for saying rent free. You, sir, are living rent free in the brains of Boomer Sooners. It's just a fact.
Yeah, no, I own the state of Oklahoma. It is what it is. Not that big of a deal. I wouldn't even make that big of a deal of it. But and rent's coming due in about 6 weeks. Again, I'm telling you. That second game against Texas is not going to be as pleasant as the first.
And I guarantee Sark and everybody at Texas has put that quote everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, and
those shirts are probably printed in burnt orange and white somewhere already.
Oh, they're coming also in crimson.
Did you guys see the quote before we get into the games? The other big quote this week. Last week we were talking about there wasn't a lot of off the field stuff. Now I guess the Texas thing was on the field, but Mark Stoops came out and said that, hey, guys, you can complain about the fans about the coaches and players all you want. However, you should start donating to the NIL fund, I think he was pretty much saying. And that's what their fans do. And look at the players they have. They're all bought. You can buy players now. Yeah. I see his point. I also am a little confused. They bought Devin Leary. then also, I'm also a little confused. Players have been bought forever, but he was saying, "Oh, it's illegal to buy players now," which is true. But that was the quote that was probably the biggest throughout the week, outside of what we saw in the pregame, or not pregame hype, the cinematic recap.
Two things. Number one is he's exactly right. If you're a fan and you're gonna complain that your coaches weren't good enough, your players weren't good enough, you do have the opportunity now to compete in the process. You can be part of the process. You can give $100, $1,000, $10,000, and that will probably go towards getting you better players. That's the absolute truth. Now, Georgia fans got mad saying, "Oh, he's just complaining because no. They come to Georgia to win championships." He's right. Georgia has bought incredible players. They bought, but you can do that. Why? I don't know why Kirby Smart in Georgia doesn't say, "Yeah, that's exactly right. NIL is a thing, and we make sure our players are taken care of to the maximum that they can possibly be taken care of, and that's why everybody should come to Georgia." So I don't know why Georgia fans got mad at it. I don't know why anybody got mad at it. What Mark Stoops said was exactly right. You can buy players now, so let's go buy players.
Not only can you should be able to brag about it. That's the way that people act whenever you see these NIL numbers come out, or when like recruiting class rankings come out and they're like, "Whoa, well, X team bought X amount of players." Yeah, okay, that's awesome. That means that somebody cares enough to give the money to those players to come to that school. I would be bragging every second I could that my team bought players. Why wouldn't you? As long as they're winning, that's the issue. So Georgia should sit back and say, "Yeah, we bought players and now we're back-to-back national champions." What of it? That you're allowed to.
Right now, there's somebody in the chat on this YouTube, which we're not live, but when they see it, they're saying, "Yeah, but Brandon, you're not supposed to use NIL money to get recruits. It's supposed to be for the okay, and you're not supposed to go 60 on the highway when the speed limit's 55 either. But that's what we all do. We all know this money is going towards recruits, and that's just the reality of the situation. And lying about it for Mark Stoops would be stupid. So,
and also
I have
to
no
those
issue
same
with what Mark Stoops said. I have no issue at all. I have an issue with Georgia fans getting mad at it. Like, shut up! You bought them. You did. Like, not that big of a deal. I would have too if I had your money.
But there's also those same people that still refuse to admit publicly that players have been bought forever. I mean, this is not anything new. Now people can legally do it. But let's be honest. Like, if you think that your school, whatever fan of you are right now, and you're mad about this, like, you are deaf and blind. Your school has also been buying players this entire time. Like, that's just the way this works. No disrespect to the deaf and blind.
Y'all want to get into some games?
Sure.
I think we start before we get into games. Going to a game is fun, correct?
Yes, it is. We love going to games.
Going to games, and if you wake up on Saturday and you don't have a ticket, you might say, "Oh, it's too late to get a ticket." Nope. GameTime has figured it out. They have figured out how to get the last-minute tickets at the right price. They are the ticketing partner of Barstool Sports, and if you're even thinking about going to a game this weekend and you don't have tickets, you need to check right now on GameTime, because I promise you they're going to have the price for you, Casey.
Yes, they are, and it's a very easy process. The app is super easy to navigate, which is very key, because a lot of these ticketing apps, they're big pains in the asses. Like, you try and you can't do it, and then you give up and you say, "You know what, I'm not going to the game." Not with GameTime. And also, as we've mentioned multiple times throughout this, it's not just sports. You can go to concerts, you can go to events, you can go to the MLB playoffs are right now as well. So anything that you want to go to, it's easy to get them. It's the lowest price guaranteed. We love GameTime.
And they sent you Justin Bieber.
Go download the app right now. And actually, Jack, if you can help me with this, download the app right now. And Jack, tell them.
You create an account and you use code ROUGH for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, you can create an account, redeem code. What's it called?
ROUGH.
For $20.
Rough.
Download GameTime today. Last minute tickets. Lowest price guaranteed.
All right. So, last couple of weeks we've had multiple big games. I feel like this week we just have one standout game that's just shining above the rest after Notre Dame lost and USC has looked average the last couple of weeks. Although I am a little woke to USC. Let's talk about that one first, actually. USC Notre Dame. We have that one circled at the beginning of the year. Notre Dame losing last week for the second time takes a little bit of shine off of it. And USC has looked average, to say the least. They're skating by some teams that they probably should. Although Arizona's not bad. Arizona's not bad. But they're skating by, and they haven't been impressive. Now, this came out as an even line. Notre Dame's now 2.5-point favorite. But when it comes to USC, Casey, I feel like people might be treating them as if they've already lost, even though they haven't.
1,000%. And I've even caught myself doing that. And that's, coming from somebody who was very high on USC preseason, picked them to win the Pac-12, picked them to be in the college football playoff. When I start looking at these slates every week, I have to talk my brain out of it and say, USC hasn't lost yet. Like, yes, they've skated by some teams that we didn't maybe anticipate they'd skate by, or the Vegas line was much higher, but they still haven't lost. And they still have Caleb Williams, and they still have this offense. So I think that, I'm guilty of that. However, if you're watching these USC games from start to finish, you do see how bad this defense is. You do see how bad the tackling is. You do wonder what Alex Grinch has on Lincoln Riley. So I think it's fair to question it, but why are we acting like they've lost? They haven't.
The line shocked me when I initially saw it.
You thought it should be higher?
No, I thought USC was going to be favored.
Oh.
Jack, what do you think about USC going into this?
I do think there will be a little bit of a dead cat bounce when it comes to their defense. They haven't had massive games. This is the one that it's most motivating. You could say the Colorado one, which they did really play well in the first half against Colorado's offense. Now, we do have to remember that game was at 10 a.m. I guess the travel was not perfect for USC, and they kind of fell apart in the second half when it was a 5-score game, and Shadur did what he did. I'm not taking away from what Colorado did, but there are factors there. 10 a.m. kickoff is tough. Second half maybe lost some gas. Last week against Arizona, they allowed 28 points? It's not the end of the world. We would have liked to see more from the offense. They need to win this game, of course. I think if they lose this one, it's not completely over. They still have a path, but the path gets a lot tougher. This is also a huge game for USC and Marcus Freeman to rally this program, because they're down and out right now. A program's down and out when you put out a clip from this podcast and you say this is the season's over, and you don't have anybody in the mentions calling you fat or ugly or anything.
Yeah.
That's when you know
Good point,
the program is down bad. And Marcus Freeman, this is a big game for him. I'm not saying it's a make or break for him, but for this season, if they win this one, they can be like, all right, we righted the ship. Let's go finish the season, go 10-2. Maybe we make a New Year's Six bowl, and then we go in the next year with a great recruiting class. But I'm very interested in this game. There's massive college football playoff implications, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm anxious to see Sam Hartman out there because last 3 games he just hadn't really produced that much. He had the game-winning touchdown against Duke, but against Ohio State, against Duke, and against Louisville, the offense didn't do much. Now, if you don't do much against USC, you're just dead. You're comatose. You are just awful. So I assume they're going to have a lot more open gaps, a lot more open receivers than they've had in a long time. And I am anxious to see this game. I just hate that it lost its shine a little bit. Now
I'm anxious to see it too. But before you get to that though, here's my question: do you think? Say that Sam Hartman can have more success and have more production against this USC defense, which is a pretty obvious statement. They also haven't seen an offense that looks like USC's offense. So
I disagree with that.
You think Ohio State
is the best defense they've faced, or the best offense they've faced? I'll give you that. But Ohio State's offense is really fucking good.
Ohio State's offense is very good. Yes. Let me repeat that, or let me rectify that. They haven't seen a quarterback that looks like Caleb Williams. Now, I understand that Kyle McCord has looked good, but what Caleb Williams is going to be able to do to that defense, which we've seen, isn't like just a perfect defense. I think that's going to be a struggle too. So not only are they going to have to see Sam Hartman be a little bit more productive, they're going to have to find a way to slow down Caleb Williams, which I feel like is going to be a lot tougher than what they've seen. But you're right. Ohio State's offense is very good.
Could Sam Hartman save his Heisman campaign?
No, it's over.
It's over.
The big one is in Seattle or wherever the hell they play. It's Oregon. It's Washington. It's probably the battle for the inside track in the Pac-12 based on the way USC's defense has looked. Doesn't solidify anything. It just puts them in the lead. a little bit because the second half of the season will be tough on both these teams. But Oregon is 6-0. Oregon is 5-0. Washington is 5-0. They both come in with high-flying offenses, both with big-time quarterbacks. Oregon has looked good defensively. Washington has not. But Washington also has the home field advantage. Casey, what do you think about this one?
This one's going to be awesome, and I looked up the both for Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr., their stats, and they're so close. I mean, Michael Penix Jr. has 500 more yards, but Bo Nix is completing 80% of his passes, 1,500 yards, 15 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Michael Penix completing 75% of his passes, 2,000 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. You want to talk about a battle of some superstar quarterbacks, and we talked about that going into the season, how many quarterbacks across the country we're excited to see, but let alone in the Pac-12. And we're going to get to see that play out on Saturday finally, and it's going to be great. I am leaning towards Oregon for the reason that you just said, Brandon. I think that Oregon has played better defense. You know, I know that Michael Penix, he's leading the Heisman campaign or the Heisman odds right now, but and I know Oregon struggled against Texas Tech. That's fine. It was in Lubbock. I think that Oregon is more of a complete team than Washington, but I think it's going to be a very close game. I think it is going to be an awesome shootout type of game. But when you look at the other side of the ball, I do think Oregon holds the better defense.
Much
So I
better.
picked Washington at the beginning of the year to win the Pac-12. I'm not going to go away from that right now. I think Michael Penix is phenomenal. That offense is phenomenal. Roma Dunze, I really don't know how to say his last name, and I apologize, is one of the top 3 receivers in the country. They're at home. Oregon has some very sexy defensive stats, and they do. And they also play Portland State. They held Colorado, which is very impressive, but they gave up 30 on the road at Texas Tech to a worse quarterback, a worse offense, a worse everything. So I don't know if I believe their defensive stats yet. They are better than Washington's, who also hasn't played a murderer's row schedule. But I think this is an incredible fourth quarter game. I think you're looking at like 48-45, something like that. And I think it's going to be a phenomenal weekend of college football up in the Great Northwest.
Yeah, I think that these two schools, like when I'm ranking my top 10 every week, like I could, it's kind of a toss up for me. Like, do I put Washington first or do I put Oregon first? I've leaned towards Washington because I think that Michael Penix has just been balling his ass off. But either one of these teams would make sense being ranked ahead of the other at this point, right, Jack? I mean, they're both so good.
Yeah, I think Oregon's rush attack will be the deciding factor here. We're talking a lot about Bo. We're talking a lot about Bo and Michael Penix. However, Irving Bucking, I think his name is. Bucky Irving, sorry. I flipped his name, but I am excited. I think he's going to have a huge game. I think he's going to be the guy that you look at the stats at the end of the day and be like, oh, my God. I think Oregon wins. I think they have more talent. I'm concerned about Washington's third down defense, which hasn't been great all season. That being said, I do think Washington's defense is a little bit better than we're leading on. They have played all right. They have forced turnovers. And I'm excited to see how they go up against this Oregon attack. Same with Oregon's defense, because Oregon's defense has been phenomenal. But Michael Penix just seems like he's on a different level with all of his weapons and whatnot. So I'm rolling with Oregon, but it's nothing. I would not obviously be shocked if Washington comes out of this the victor. And this is without a doubt best game of the weekend. I'm excited about a lot of games, but this almost feels like a quarterfinals for the college football playoff. But this could be game 1 of 2.
Yeah,
between these two.
Yeah. What's the over under of this game?
Like 68 or something, 69.
Feels like an over game.
All right. Casey?
I'm
Is
dying.
You're dying. You go die, and I'll tell you about cars.com.
Oh, you
They're
still
the
dying.
leading digital marketplace for you to buy, sell, finance cars. Everything you can do with buying a car, you can do at cars.com. You can find your perfect car. She's really going. Okay. You can find your perfect car. You can find your next possibility. Whatever car you drive says so much about you. And it can say that you're a sports car guy, you're an SUV guy, or a Jeep guy, or just a good-looking, cool dad like me. Cars.com is going to have that possibility for you. They have up to 50,000 cars uploaded daily, up to 2 million cars online at all times. And that means 2 million possibilities. So find your next possibility on cars.com. Cars.com, where to next? Where to next for us? We'll be talking about where we want to go this weekend. As we have lost Casey Smith. She has gone to
She's
cough
right
her
back.
lungs up. So hopefully she lives through this. She is back. She is walking back. Okay. She's sitting down. She's putting her headphones on, and now she's talking.
Why are we play-by-playing this?
Why not?
Katie,
Jack, I'll start with you, and we'll give Casey just a little bit longer to deal with whatever she's dealing with.
She's good.
Jack, if you could go to any game in this country this weekend, where are you going?
Well, I would go Oregon, Washington, but outside of that, I think Miami, North Carolina is a great game, and I think that's where we're going to go to next. And this is a game that has some massive implications for the ACC. There's also a lot that's going into this game after last week's bizarre ending for Miami, which, by the way, it's pretty clear now that guy was down, which has to feel awful for Miami fans. That being said, Miami did not play well in that game. It's not like this is the last. It was just them and the kneeling situation. They did not play well the entire game against a Georgia Tech team that is not that good. So let's see how they can pull it together against North Carolina in a massive game for Katie's stats.
Yeah. I'm not
What was that laugh, Katie?
That's my nervous and fuck laugh.
Yeah, that was a nervous laugh from her.
Yeah.
Like, I get excited. I'm just worried about the trap game.
It's not a trap game.
How would this be a trap game?
I think sleeping. Like, everyone said that
This is Miami on national TV in prime time.
Well, no, I think people are underrating it because they just lost to Georgia Tech. Like, didn't you guys say that USC should not be worried about Notre Dame because if Notre Dame just lost, it's to come up?
We didn't say that.
Someone somewhere said that. Fine. I think that people are kind of gonna think Miami is gonna get blown out by this, and I'm just nervous.
If North Carolina does blow Miami out, it's time to have a serious conversation about North Carolina.
Yes, 100%. Agreed.
I don't think they've been in the mix for actual top 10 conversations yet. They haven't done that. They haven't their undefeated record isn't looked at like Oregon's undefeated record or Washington's undefeated record. But if the longer they go and if they look impressive again, like they beat them by 3 touchdowns like they did to Syracuse last week, which they beat them by 5 touchdowns. But if they beat Miami like this, and Miami's obviously they struggled against Georgia Tech, and they it's disappointing they're not coming in undefeated as well. But if North Carolina wins this game by 4 touchdowns, look out, because I think the ceiling is the roof for North Carolina.
I knew that was coming, and yeah, I will be an asshole about about this team if that happens.
I've
started. I'm not going to be an asshole in general, but I've started after last week.
I'm really interested to see how much Miami runs the ball. Your rush defense has not been great all year. Nope. I think the pass defense has been better than expected.
The bar is low, but yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, but I mean, the defense has been decent. I mean, I'm looking at some stats, and they definitely have been better, but this is the toughest competition to date. That being said, I mean, South Carolina has a pretty good offense. Syracuse's offense isn't awful. They shut them down last week. There's been some silver linings, but this is the biggest test, and I'm definitely excited to see how UNC performs. And if they can, like Brandon said, man, we may have a weird situation where there's 3 12-0 teams within. There's still a long way to go. But it has been talked about a lot this week. What happens if there's 3 12-0 teams in the ACC? It's possible.
I mean,
yeah, I think Louisville has got a hell of a. You talk about a sleepy game. They got a trap waiting for them this week at Pitt. Like, Pitt's looked awful. So that's. But anyway, when they get to 9-0, 10-0, we can talk about that. But Casey, if you go anywhere in the country this week, where are you going?
Well, other than the fact that we will be at LSU, so I do need to mention that we will be at the Auburn LSU game, so we would go there. My answer would also be Miami, North Carolina. Obviously, the answer is Oregon, Washington, but since you guys have already had that whole debate, I don't know. I mean, UCLA, Oregon State, I don't know. I mean, I know that people aren't like jumping out of their seats to watch that game as much as some of the other ones, but that's going to be an awesome game. I mean, UCLA again. Like UCLA and Oregon State both have become those teams that right now in the Pac-12 have been playing really well, but it's like whose season are they going to muck up? Whose season are they going to be a speed bump for? That game seems like it's going to be pretty good. And I don't know why I have this like very strange feeling about UCLA and how kind of quietly successful they have been this year. But outside of Oregon-Washington, every other game kind of feels meh just because everything's so good.
The interesting thing about UCLA is their offense has not been good this year, but their defense has been spectacular, which is not what you expect out of a Chip Kelly team.
And especially after last year when they had DTR and Charbonnet.
But they have a freshman quarterback, and they're letting him take his lumps, right?
Yeah, which I think for the long haul, that's a great move for UCLA, and
it might be good for the long haul this year. Like the second half of the year, he might turn a corner.
Yeah, and he's had his moments, and it's not like he's playing awful. It's just you wouldn't expect some of the numbers that we've seen through the first 5 or 6 games for UCLA have not been spectacular. But like you said, we could definitely see that turn around. And this may be the first game that we do. But this is going to be a tough environment for Dante Moore.
Very tough.
Katie, if you could go anywhere in the country this week, where are you going?
I'm going to UNC Miami. Everything's been said already. I'm very excited, a little nervous. Like this is the we're real game for me. So tentative. They're also in another category, but I'm not going to say it. Excited but nervous.
You meant upset alert. That's what you meant.
No.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
I would be going, of course, to Harrisonburg, Virginia, where I would watch 5-0 JMU against 4-1 Georgia Southern. I think the foliage is going to be elite in Southern Virginia at this time of the month. In October, I think it's going to be beautiful. That stadium in Harrisonburg is right off the interstate. There's a beautiful Chick-fil-A right nearby. I'd love to go see JMU and Georgia Southern.
Ebo got to you.
What?
Nothing.
Harrisonburg is beautiful?
I'm sure it's fine.
I don't think it is, but at least from I was talking to some Virginia people recently, I don't think Harrisonburg's known as a beautiful place.
I'm sure it's fine, Jack.
Again, Ebo got to him somehow.
Brandon, what's your real answer?
I just gave you my real answer.
That is not your real answer.
What? Y'all all said North Carolina, Miami.
I went there. I was going to say Washington, Oregon.
And then I gave a second option, which is a ranked Pac-12 matchup, top 20
It's
matchup.
obviously Washington, Oregon.
Well, yeah, it's
There we
obviously.
go. Thank
It's
you.
obviously Washington, Oregon.
Sailgating in early October, it's going to be beautiful.
Sailgating sounds so fun, and I know isn't there only like 3 places you can do that? Baylor, Washington, and Tennessee?
I think so.
Sure.
Yeah, because
I'm not going to Baylor to do that, I'll tell you that.
I'll be
Sailgating
honest,
in Waco
sailgating
sounds like
doesn't
shit.
sound that great, bro.
Well, come
I'll
on.
be
do
honest.
it one time at least.
Why?
bucket
It's
list it.
Why wouldn't sailgating sound fun?
it's just the same thing as tailgating, except you can't move anywhere.
Yeah, but it's like partying on a boat. People love partying on boats.
I think, I guess, you have to most likely your boat's going to be small. It's going to be more people on it than not because it's an overrated experience. You're going to be packed together. There's nowhere to go. If let's say you wanted to take a walk, go to your other friend's tailgating spot or whatnot, everybody in your row. You don't have that in sailgating. I think it's probably overrated.
You know what? I guess I am assuming that everybody has really nice boats.
Yeah, that's
my
not
assumption,
the
and
common.
that's-
But
You
the
don't go
good thing about
sailgating with a bad boat.
no,
Yeah, that's
you
true,
definitely
too.
do. You definitely do. There's,
like,
but a bad boat's still small. A good boat's still small.
No, take like a catamaran sailgating. That'd be sick.
Yeah, but that's like the best of the best. You would have the good thing about tailgating. It's a common man's experience. Anybody can tailgate. Sailgating just seems very, very elite, rich.
I'd like it on
Okay.
record that I would like to be invited to a sailgating experience. And if I have to go to Waco, fine, but I'd like to go to Washington first.
Jack, who's on upset alert this week?
Who's on an upset alert? I was going to say Duke. Duke's on upset alert against NC State. I guess that's kind of a lame one. I also think Kentucky's a little bit on upset alert. I think Mizzou had almost a big moment last week. They'll go on the road. Kentucky's kind of just, oh my God, here we go again. Those are some good games that I see as potential upset alerts. I also don't think Alabama can sleepwalk through their game. against Arkansas. I'm not saying Arkansas is going to beat them, but Arkansas has these weird moments where they pop up out of nowhere. So,
Casey, who's on the upset alert?
My answer was the Kentucky-Missouri game as well. I understand that, we do this every year with Kentucky, and as you've said many times, it's like every year Kentucky kind of shows us who they are. Brandon, you've been right about Missouri, and I understand that they lost last week, and that the way that they played for most of that game, it didn't look like they were going to lose to LSU the way that they did. But I think Missouri is a very good team, and I'm not sure how I truly feel about Kentucky. I don't even know what the line is right now. It's got to, I didn't even know if it had got up to 3. I think Missouri's gonna win this game outright.
Katie, who's on upset alert?
I'm gonna get accused of being a homer, and I genuinely do think this game Miami's gonna turn around from Georgia Tech and give it a hell of a battle. So UNC maybe.
All right. My answer is Tennessee. Tennessee at home against an A&M team who just lost to Alabama. A&M's got a very good defense. I think Tennessee at number 21 or number 19, I don't think they're that good. I think they're overrated, and I think Texas A&M's going to give them fits.
Brandon, did you not remember what I said to you on Saturday night to finish the podcast? Did you not?
I ain't got nothing to do with you, Casey.
I know it has nothing to do with me. I realize it has nothing to do with me, but it does have something to do with me when it's A&M. And I said, stop hyping me up about A&M. You do this every year, and you're always wrong.
Okay, I'll add one that we haven't said. I kind of said it earlier, but number 14, Louisville, undefeated, coming off an emotional win over Notre Dame at home. They go on the road to a Pitt team who has been awful, and they're only 7.5-point favorites. That feels upsetty to me.
Did you see what's the streak of A&M on the road right now? Straight up.
Probably not good.
Do you have any idea, Brandon?
Can't be good.
They've lost their last 7 away games.
Huh? Winning away games tough.
Yeah, Florida is 1-9 for the last.
Yeah, and playing at Tennessee is always tough. I also think A&M is going to win that game, but I can't talk about it.
All right, Casey.
Yes.
What player are you most excited to see this weekend?
Caleb Williams. That game, as we talked about when we previewed the game, has lost a little bit of luster just because Notre Dame has looked the way that they have. However, this is one of those games, and Frank the Tank's in there yelling about USC all week. These teams do hate each other. It is a rivalry game. I'm excited to see what Caleb Williams can do. And the fact that I understand that, the numbers that Michael Penix Jr. are he's putting up right now are insane. But Caleb Williams has still been Caleb Williams. And the fact that he's not leading the Heisman odds right now is crazy to me. So I am going to put him there. I think Notre Dame's offense, the Ohio State game was great. I understand. But Kyle McCord is not Caleb Williams. I'm very excited to see him in this game.
Jack?
Drake May. I'm a big fan of Miami's defense, and I want to see the perennial top 5 pick, top 10 pick really see if he can take this game at home, maybe the biggest game of his career so far, and really take it by the balls. And once he does, he will be celebrating with some sunglasses on that he bought from Shady Rays, because Shady Rays is gearing up or helping us gear up for the season ahead with quality shades built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. That's right. Drake May is going to be his future is going to be so bright. He's going to need some polarized shades after this weekend. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company that offers a world-class product that's just as good as any expensive pair we've worn. Durable frames and crystal clear optics for all outdoor adventures, exclusively for our listeners, Roughnecks. Yes. Shady Rays is giving out an amazing deal for the season. Go to shadyrays.com. That's right, shadyrays.com, and use code Roughness.
Roughness, the whole word.
For 50% off 2+ pairs of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people.
Did you get some new Shady Rays, Brandon, for Baton Rouge?
Not yet. The request is in.
There you go.
And a hat. A massive sun hat.
And water.
And yeah.
Katie, all right,
electrolytes.
Relax. Katie, what player would you like to see this weekend?
It's also Drake May. I think he's faded a little bit in the Heisman conversation. He sat up during the Syracuse game, but the Syracuse isn't really enough, I think, to hang a Heisman hat on. Not to say that there's any Heisman moment, but I think if he can dice up a Miami defense, he is solidly back, or at least I think solidly back in the top 5.
All right.
Brandon, your player?
Can't believe y'all left these two to me, but to me it's two guys, and it's in the same game. It's Bo Nix against Michael Penix. The biggest game of the week, and a huge, gigantic quarterback battle in the Pac-12. It's not a defensive league, and you're only going to go as far as your quarterback's going to take you. That's why Caleb Williams and USC are still undefeated. Like, if you've got a quarterback out there, you've got a chance. And these are the two guys, Michael Penix and Bo Nix, leading these two good teams. I really think whichever quarterback plays better on Saturday wins the game. I know that boils it down probably too far, but yeah, I can't see Michael Penix outplaying Bo Nix and still losing. So that's what I'm going with. Those two guys.
What about Oregon's defense? Do you think a defense?
I don't know that it's real. It might be. It might be. I'm not going to sit here and do the Oklahoma thing again. But again, their last road test, they went to Lubbock, Texas, and they gave up 30 points to a bad offense, a bad one. So, and that was a 31-30 game. Texas Tech had the ball and was trying to drive and win the game when there was a pick six. So, like, Oregon got out of there with an 8-point win, but it wasn't an 8-point win. So, based on their only road trip being that game, I don't know if that defense is 100% real. Plus, the Colorado game where they shut out Colorado until the end, there was an emotion and an anger in that game that they're not going to have again, in my opinion. So yeah.
That I do agree with that.
I disagree. I mean, I don't think it'll be anger, but I think they'll be hyped up for this game.
They'll be up, but it felt personal with Colorado, and I don't know that it feels personal here.
I think it'll be for different reasons. Like, the winner of this is probably winning the Pac-12 and getting a playoff berth. I think they know that this is a massive game. It's not like, I don't think it's an anger maybe, but I think they're going to be just as excited, just as determined.
I think that from a play on the field perspective maybe, but I don't think Dan Lanning's pregame speech is going to be going viral before this game. It was for Colorado because of the hype around Colorado.
Yeah.
You know, that it was a different level.
And the last one is under the radar games. Is that correct? Jack, you got an under the radar game?
I said it earlier. I think NC State Duke's a pretty good game. I also am looking. We didn't even pull it out. I think Texas A&M Tennessee is a very high level game. I'm interested to see how these two teams do. Joe Milton against a pass defense who I think is getting a bit too disrespected. The numbers aren't that bad for Texas A&M, but Jalen Milroe just diced it up. Can Josh Heupel and Joe Milton do the same? Also, how does Texas A&M respond after a brutal loss? And so it's tough to say the 3:30 CBS game's under the radar, but at least from a marquee point of view, that's my under the radar game.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge game. So I do agree.
For both team seasons for the rest. I also think Florida, South Carolina is good.
Brandon, I was giving you shit. Obviously, you can talk about, whatever you think that's going to happen with the A&M Tennessee game, but I am very interested to see, what it looks like for A&M to rebound after that, what, the coaching decisions, but also, Tennessee last year with Hendon Hooker and all the praise that they got, and they haven't, lived up to that expectation. This would be a gigantic win for them because, it still is a good team. But my under the radar, which is kind of gross, but Iowa, Wisconsin.
No, that's mine.
Iowa, Wisconsin is this weekend. That's a big time game for that division. And, Katie, you've been really paying attention. You've been paying, I think, the most attention than anybody outside of Iowa to what Iowa's offense is doing, which I love because it's like you want to know exactly what it's going to take to get him fired. This game is really important for that division, right? So I personally think Wisconsin's going to win, but this could be a very gross game.
The winner of this probably is going to win the West.
Right.
So that's why I'm interested in it. I think that division is very gross, but it's also why we love it.
Yeah, I think
and
this
Wisconsin, I mean, if they win this game, they're on their way to an 11-1 season. They could theoretically go into.
Jack. Not to shit on that, but they got Ohio State coming in a couple weeks.
Oh, okay. I did. So, but that Ohio State
10
game
and 2.
will be
10-2 then.
will be. I'll say it. It's at home, right?
Yeah, and we're gonna be there.
I mean, yeah, you guys.
Yeah,
and
we'll
you
be
guys,
there.
You guys are going. It's theoretical. It is a big game then if they win this game. So, and then you kind of go into that. If let's say they pull something off, they're back in. Like that will be a game that matters for the playoff race.
yeah.
So, and we kind of wrote Wisconsin off because they're lost to Washington State, but Washington State obviously is not an awful team, and that's a tough. They had to go all the way to Washington, even though that's not as far from Wisconsin. I kind of look at it from like New York to Washington.
Pretty far.
But
It's still pretty far. Yeah, but the fact that this game that, like Katie said, will decide the Big Ten West is under the radar, it just kind of tells you the state of the Big Ten right now, because we pay so much attention to the East, as we should, with Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan. But this is why getting rid of divisions in the Big Ten is going to be such a big deal, because the fact that, like, this is who could potentially be in Indianapolis to play one of these teams, and we're just kind of like, it's under the radar. Like, it's such a lopsided conference. The East is so important, and the West right now is just not.
Yeah. Brandon, what's your under the radar game?
So mine's Friday night. I'm going G5 again.
Oh my God.
It's 4-1 Tulane against 4-1 Memphis. It could be very, very exciting football. These games like that just have a chance at being like a 6 overtime thriller. Tulane and Memphis on a Friday night. It just sounds like a game that's going to get weird as fuck.
Tommy Tuberville just fell down the stairs.
All right.
Look, watch this. It was rainy and
Oh, that's
what?
Yeah,
Senator Tommy Tuberville.
Senator.
Yeah, it was.
Brandon.
I don't know where he was arriving, but it's funny.
It's one of those butt falls, like you slip and you hit your butt and your butt just won't stop.
No.
That's tough. That's a tough
All right,
one.
well, that's a good place to end, I think.
Oh, sorry. And they said on Twitter, Tommy Tumbleville.
So funny.
And this is just a funny. I wish you were still a college football coach so we could use that. It's a meme that you could definitely use, but obviously he's the senator now.
Do you want to go down the slate for the top games and quickly just say who's winning?
No.
Okay, cool.
Well, I mean, I think we hit everything.
Yeah, I think we did too.
Plus,
South Carolina, Florida.
Brandon has his Chick-fil-A in the room. That's what he wants.
Yeah.
Thank you, Casey.
That's exactly what Katie, I would say yes, but I also know the man is hangry because he was delivered his lunch a little bit ago and he's just been staring at it ever
that's
since.
a him problem. You gotta order it for a different time.
I'm in a 4x8 room and it smells like chicken.
Heaven.
Can I go eat it?
Yes, Go ahead.
All right, y'all have fun. We'll shut it out right there. That's unnecessary roughness.